So, Bethany, it's great to have you here at Katie Wellness Institute.
Thank you.
I would like to ask you two things. Number one, about the CURESZ Foundation and what that means and what the mission is. And secondly, how it came to be. And I think maybe the how it came to be is a great place to start. I mean, I have read your book. I know where you started, but if people are watching this video for the first time and don't know anything about you, can you just tell us what your life used to be like and then what happened to you and how the CURESZ Foundation came to be?
So I'm celebrating 10 years of full recovery from schizophrenia. But there was a time when I really believed I would never get better. I was an honor student at the University of Southern California in 1999. 1.5 scholarship. I did research in biochemistry. I was concert master of the community orchestra. Things were going great. And during my undergraduate, I developed schizophrenia, no trauma. I developed schizophrenia after taking a long trip to Nairobi, where I lived with the poor, had a wonderful time, came back to America, couldn't study anymore, thought nothing was wrong, was having delusions. I spent 4 years without an address, dropped out of school, didn't even realize that I was sick, never ever dreamed that I could have schizophrenia. I didn't know what schizophrenia was. I know it was a brain disease that involved a chemical imbalance inside the brain that is treatable, and that I could actually recover from schizophrenia if I had it. So I went through 4 very difficult years where I had dropped out. I was living on the university campus. I was living for a year in a churchyard across the street from a dormitory where I used to live as an honor student.
And that was your year of actual on the street, correct?
1 year actually living outside.
Sleeping under the stars at night.
Yeah. Never begged, never held up a sign. My whole goal through all of it was to not appear homeless. But after that year, I wasn't doing a very good job. Eating a lot of food people just left, seeing garbage cans over the year. My mind was this cloud. I didn't even notice or think it was abnormal that I was eating food people just left behind. So finally, one day, which was March 3rd, 2007, I still remember, I was picked up by police and taken to be evaluated. And I was so glad I was being evaluated because I thought they'd let me right out. I was hearing voices 24/7, but I had convinced myself that that was normal. I convinced myself that everybody heard voices and the important thing was not to talk about it. I was very sick. I spent the next year first going off my medication, going back on, and then trying 5 different medications. I was permanently and totally disabled, not because of the disease per se, but because of the treatment I was getting. These medications left me unable to work. Things went from worse to much worse. I used to miss being homeless because when I was homeless, I wasn't on medications that gave me severe side effects.
Right.
And I missed my life homeless. That's how bad it was. Finally, after a year of trying many different medications, I met a new doctor whose name was Henry Nasrallah, and he said, "You need to try a medication called clozapine." I'd never heard of clozapine before. He explained that it was for patients who were treatment resistant. I think he called it refractory psychosis. And he said that I qualified for a trial of clozapine many months before, that if I had just tried 2 antipsychotics with little to no success, that I qualified for clozapine.
Right.
So it really felt like nothing would work, that it would just be the 6th medication I tried and there'd be little success. And also I was told I might gain 50 to 100 pounds, but we had to try it. And I did wonderfully well on clozapine. I lost weight, I gained on other antipsychotics. Finally, I was able to study again. After a year and a half on clozapine, I moved out of my parents' house into a little apartment building across the street from the university, and I took my first class again. I got an A in genetics, and I realized that I was going to finish my degree. I did finish my degree in 2011, and Dr. Nasrallah always told me to shoot for the stars, make goals, never settle. Remember who you used to be before schizophrenia, and be that person again, or make new goals, for your future. Never stop. So he encouraged me to just write down everything that had happened, and it took 2 years, but it became the book Mind Estranged. And when Mind Estranged was published, I started doing a lot of public speaking. I spoke for a lot of current psychiatry conferences. Dr. Nasrallah is their editor-in-chief, so I had an in.
And that's where I heard you the first time.
That's where Dr. Katie heard me the first time, yeah. Clinics, I speak a lot at the University of Cincinnati, medical students, law students studying mental health, law, hospitals, churches. I've been doing a lot of speaking. And then in summer of 2016, Dr. Nasrallah, of course, had another bright idea. He suggested we found a nonprofit called CURESZ, which would be comprehensive understanding via research and education into schizophrenia. And it would have many goals. Included in these goals are trying to re-educate the public to understand schizophrenia is a treatable brain disease. There's no shame taking a medication for any illness, including a brain disease like schizophrenia. Schizophrenia should be classified with other brain diseases, including Alzheimer's, stroke, brain cancers.
Right.
These are all brain diseases.
They're biological.
We'd like to get rid of the term mental illness. It's a deceptive term. Seizures used to be called a mental illness.
So in terms of cures and how we're doing on outreach now and the mission, what's going on? I know that we have a newsletter. What's going on in terms of outreach? What are your visions for the future of CURESZ?
Right now, we're very focused on educational articles and videos. We have an article called Treatment Issues to Discuss with Your Doctor. These are the 10 things I wish that I had been told on the day I was diagnosed with schizophrenia. Those include understanding that if I went off my medication cold turkey and then went back on my medication, it probably wouldn't work as well. I didn't understand that these antipsychotics are not like antibiotics, where you can have a trial, end the trial, and then go back on the antibiotic in the future. They're not like that. So I wish I had been told about relapses and really strongly encouraged to always stay on my medication unless I'm working with a doctor to taper it off. So that's really important. Another thing that's really important is clozapine, the medication that essentially saved my life, gave me my life back. Patients need to understand that if they tried 2 antipsychotics with little success over a few months each, they qualify for a trial of clozapine. They shouldn't have to try 5 different medications like I did before clozapine.
And the flip side of that is, I think we're increasingly reaching out to more psychiatrists and medical professionals, and so it's not just the patient. If I have failed too, I need to ask for clozapine. I want more doctors to know, hey, if the patient has failed too, and usually it's 3, 4, 5, it's time for a trial of clozapine.
Right.
Even though it's a little touchy to prescribe, there's a laboratory testing requirement for it, but I want doctors to know about it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that we're making progress with that.
And many of your patients are on clozapine these days.
Yes. I would say in my practice, and I get resistant schizophrenics,
Like me.
100% are on clozapine.
Yeah. So we'd like every patient who has schizophrenia to be told on day 1 that if 2 antipsychotics don't work, there is hope.
Right.
Clozapine is an option. And we'd also like to raise awareness about tardive dyskinesia, which is a debilitating condition caused as a side effect of antipsychotics. It can cause involuntary movements, often in the face, but also can be in the hands and the feet and the trunk. There are medications available or treatments available today for tardive dyskinesia. Many of the newer medications cause it at a much lower rate than the older antipsychotics, but every patient should be aware that they may develop TD on antipsychotics, and there is treatment today.
Right.
Yeah, we'd like to get into the general public and stand up and share the message that there is no shame in having schizophrenia. There is hope.
I think it's a great organization and a great goal. Thank you for founding it, Bethany.
Thank you for serving on the board, Dr. Katie.
You're welcome.